Research is showing that hundreds of thousands and millions of people across the world every year set financial goals. But in spite of how hard they work at committing time, talent, and resources to achieve those financial goals that they have set themselves, research is showing that over 90% of them never come close to realizing those goals. In today's program, we will be looking at the issue surrounding financial independence. We'll look at the definition of what is financial independence, and we will also examine new, innovative, practical tools that can be used to help the populace to be able to set clear financial goals and go after that. Today with me in the studio is no other than Mr. Frank. Mr. Frank is a graduate of the University of the West Indies. He was also a lecturer at the University of the West Indies. He holds a master's degree in economics, and of course, he has a wealth of knowledge as it relates to leadership. So what he will do today is to lend us that wealth of knowledge that he has as he navigates us through these talking points. Along with this, we have Jade Thompson, who is very new. I guess this is his first debut interfacing with the subject. Jade is a student of investment banking. To date, he has attained over 7 certificates in investment banking and in other areas of business. He's also a representative of Global Capital Inc. and 10X Branding and Marketing LLC out of New York. And of course, Jade too will be sharing his knowledge with us as it relates to why most people fail in setting financial goals. And he will also be sharing with us some of those best practices. Welcome, Frank, and welcome, Jade.
Hello, thank you for having me.
So I want to begin by asking Jay to explain to me his understanding of financial goal setting. Jay?
All right, so today we'll be talking about financial goal setting. And anyone attempting to set a clear financial goal must make sure that these two ecosystems stand out. Ecosystem 1, it talks about understanding the intentions behind setting that goal. And ecosystem 2 is to understand the expectations behind setting that goal. So let's go into ecosystem 1, which is intention. And your intention must have the ability to 1, add value, and 2, fix problems. So let's take, for example, a doctor. A doctor's intention is to cure or protect their patients from any disease, pain, or injuries. A lawyer's intention is to defend their client guilty or non-guilty. And that is how they add value and fix problems.
Thank you, Jen. And I want to assume that as they add value and fix problems through their profession, they're able to attain their expectations. Can you tell us a little bit about their expectations?
Okay, so one's expectation is to grow and expand, and to grow with local, regional, and international relevance and the cash flow maximize.
Cash flow maximize. That's a big word. All right, Frank. Thank you, Jade, for that introduction. And I trust the public is taking notes as it relates to how to go about setting the financial goal. Two things you talk about: identify the intention of that goal, and that intention must be to add value and fix problems. And you also speak about the expectations. As you add value, equally or above your expectations, it opens that door for you to be more successful in the goals that you're setting yourself. Beautiful concept. Okay, over to the master, Mr. Frank. I know we're talking about a definition of financial independence. Would you care to give us your view? And also perhaps you could talk about some of the barriers that is preventing persons from getting to that independent financial position.
Thank you, Gary. One of the things I want to start by saying is that we need to declare our own financial independence day. When we look at various countries around the world, they celebrate Independence Day. And independence is worth fighting for. In the United States, all over the world know that Independence Day is 4th of July. And on July the 4th, they will celebrate the nation's declaration of freedom from the control of influence of Great Britain. In Ghana, it's on May 26th. So when we look at that, the freedom, independence, freedom, we look at financial independence, that also means freedom. And as with political independence, we celebrate whatever date in whatever country. Financial independence will start with a declaration. Here's how to declare, fight for, and win your own financial independence. And if we look at a quick definition of financial independence, it could be having enough will to live a life of comfort without the need to work. In truth, financial independence can mean different things to different people. There was a survey in 2020 on the TD Ameritrade where they surveyed young Americans ages 15 to 29. 57% of the respondents judge themselves to be financially independent by virtue of being able to meet their financial obligations without the financial help from parents, from grandparents, or others. Now, when we look between those two benchmarks, there lies mirrored definitions of financial independence. Some people have no desire to ever quit working, none whatsoever. They just want enough money to be comfortable and to have the ability to cover an emergency without going into debt. For others, financial independence means freedom from worry when they retire, which is including the freedom to travel, spend time with family members, relax and enjoy the fruits of their labor. And others still see it as being able to support themselves and be there for family who need them without worrying about being able to afford help or having enough to support the institutions and causes they value. Now, if you're listening to this and you may want to define your definition, could incorporate many of these goals. Now, whatever financial independence means to you, unless you win the lottery or inherit a fortune, it will likely only happen if you're willing to go after it. When you look at the founding fathers of whichever independent country, they knew that the country's independence would not be achieved without a fight. They knew the fight would not be successful without a strategic plan. So it is with financial independence. Therefore, the plans that we discuss can help us to build our way to financial independence. But it's important to recognize that strategy and prudence can only go so far. Family responsibilities, health, personal circumstances, and social privilege, or the lack of it, play a large role in how free an individual is able to build wealth and achieve financial independence. And this advice is given in the spirit, knowing that the playing field around the world has never been completely even. The independence and freedom declared on whichever Independence Day, which is one in whatever war or revolutionary war or civil war, it is important to celebrate. But citizens must also recognize that it left out of the majority of the inhabitants. Every nation is still fighting to feel and be fully equal and free.
Thank you, my friend. That was well said. I just want to draw the public attention today that as Frank gives us a broad perspective on financial independence, we have Jade on the other hand, who is giving us a systematic approach that can be used. And these are some proven steps that we have been using at Global Capital Inc. and 10X, Branding Marketing LLC out of New York, to really help people to better understand how to set financial goals and how to develop the game plan around it. So far, Jade would have said that in setting that goal, it's not enough to see only your expectations. You want to be rich, you want to be successful. He talked about also the intention in setting that goal. And what he said is that the intention has to be all about adding value and fixing problems. And I believe that he also said that the ability to add value and fix problems must amplify much louder than the expectations that you have in setting that financial goal. Now, Jed, I want to come back to you. You didn't talk about the lawyer, you talk about the doctor in their intention. But can we relate this to the average individual? They set their goals. And what are some of the expectations that the average person may have in life?
So the average goal that the average person have: home ownership, car ownership, business ownership, higher education, children college funds, all-inclusive family tour, emergency savings account, and a whole host of other goals.
Okay.
Thanks, Jed. And I think Frank would have also alluded to some of the things that you were just talking about. I think one of the things that Frank also alluded to is that financial independence has more than one definition. And I think it has a lot to do with people level of expectations, people level of ambition that will ultimately influence the financial number, the financial freedom number. But I just want to add that we see that millions of people across the world are struggling to get to that point of financial independence. Listening to what Jay would have said, there are reasons why they're struggling. they focus a whole lot on their expectation and not the intention. But to add to this, just to ensure that this program is adding value, this program is fixing problems, I want to point out a few more things that persons can perhaps adopt in their own life as they set the stage to develop and move towards financial independence. The 5 things that I want you to take note of now is one, to assess your income and to assess that income against your expenditure. As you assess the income against your expenditure, you want to clearly identify your balance sheet. Now, we know that for many persons, they have a negative balance sheet. And because you have a negative balance sheet, your future plans relating to some of the things that Jay just spoke about, home ownership, car ownership, emergency savings account, all-inclusive family tour, children college fund, and so much more. Your balance sheet is not able to bring you across here. So the 5th element of this program is where we talk to you about smart investment portfolio. And here is where we go into things like, is it smart to invest in ETF? What is an ETF, an exchange trade fund? Is it better to invest in real estate? Real estate is a high capital intensive venture, but is there a smart way to get into it? So we bring you to this point to really understand what is stocks, bonds, mutual funds, what is hedge funds, what is Vanguard Index, the range of other possibilities that really get you truly exposed to all the options or some of the options that are available to you as you move towards that point of financial independence. My greatest advice to you is you don't have to remain stuck where you're at in hopes and dreams and aspirations and possibly never getting there. My advice is to encourage you, whether you're in business or not, to get the right financial advisors that can help to springboard and help you to leap from the dreams and the hopes that you have for yourself. All right, Frank, are you there?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I am.
All right. All right. The floor is to you. I mean, can you lend your expertise to this conversation?
One of the things I always think about is what are the strategic plan or whatever plan you have in place for financial independence, because you must have a plan, and the plan must be strategic. And just like how there is no absolute definition of financial independence, there's also no one strategy that will help a person to gain financial independence. With that said, all the strategic plans must have some features in common. You will need to, one, set financial objectives. Choose the assets, whether it's financial or otherwise. 3, you will need to achieve your goals. 4, you need to decide on the investment strategies and other tactics that you will employ. And then you'll commit to perseverance. So I think it's kind of sadly lacking now. People don't like to persevere, but you have to in order to keep fighting for financial independence, because this is not something that's a fly by night where you just suddenly wake up and it happens, unless you are lucky. So in all I've said, let's look at what is some of the objectives that you can have when you're planning for your financial independence. Your objectives are unique to you. And you have to think about long-term goals. Do you want total financial independence? Do you want freedom from working for a living and the ability to do as you please? Or are your objectives more modest? Are you okay with a mostly independent lifestyle with some need to supplement what we call passive income? Another thing is that your age and financial situation will influence your choice of the objectives. If you are in your 20s or 30s, you have a long time to achieve your goals, along with the difficulty, or along with the ability, to take more risks. Because at that age, you may even want to pursue what's known as financial independence / retire early, which is coined as FIRE. It's another strategy. And this strategy involves extreme savings and investment strategy design so as to allow the young person to retire far earlier than normal. Or, as the respondents in the TD American Ameritrade survey indicated, your goal may be able to pay your bills and avoid debt. But if you're older, say you're between 50 and 65, you likely already have retirement savings objectives, but even if not, there is still time to plan for financial independence. And depending on your goals and accumulated assets, this may involve a riskier investment strategy to make up for lost time. Or you may need to reset what defines retirement comfort. Or whatever your objectives, one of the things that you must do is to write them down. Keep them in front of you as a constant reminder of where you want to end up, living a life as you define it of financial independence. Another thing that you may have to look at is the kind of assets you have, which are tools or weapons that you will need to achieve your objectives. And these can include income-producing assets of many kinds, ranging from a savings account or cash deposits, CDs, to portfolio of dividend-paying stocks, bonds, or bond funds, and real estate. A home is many people's largest asset and can turn into a source of equity or be used in a reverse mortgage, which is able to help fund retirement. And that's not the only way to invest in real estate. If you're into rental properties, this can generate a sufficient amount of cash, but can require substantial investment and risk. When we think about the pandemic we're going through, the COVID-19 pandemic showed how real estate can both drop and grow in value over a short period. But over the long haul, however, real estate has shown itself to be a constant provider of wealth. Another wealth-building asset would be to start and run a successful business with the ultimate goal of either not being directly involved in day-to-day management or of selling the business for substantial profit. Now, assets will also include the intangibles, such as your knowledge and skill. We were not born knowing about stock market or rental properties or how to run a small business. Well, we all were born with the ability to learn, the ability to research, the ability to read, and experiment with the varying strategies to see what works best. Over to you, Gary.
Excellent presentation. All right, I want to come back to Jade Thompson. And Jade, I think that you eloquently deliver on the brand intention and the expectation. And you spoke about the financial goal setting and intention and expectations. I could also recall that you spoke very eloquently also at the back end about the 5 levels of visualization. Would you care to tell us a little bit about that?
All right. So the 5 levels of visualization talks about think tanking and brainstorming. It talks about building the master plan. It talks about identifying the success habits, then master success habits, and success habits systemization.
Wow, that sounds like very that sounds like very in-depth systemization. Let us talk a little bit about the very first one that you talk about think tanking and brainstorming. What should the public take away when you speak about think tanking and brainstorming?
All right, so think tanking and brainstorming basically means you and your right team members think of creative ways of how you're going to add value and fix problems for the target audience.
Thank you. And in this case, as you set the financial goals and as you identify the intention of that financial goal, the intention is to add value, fix problem to the customers.
Exactly.
And then you have expectations. And what happens here, that is where the think tanking process comes through. That allows you to build out clear, intentional, strategic plans and to help you to achieve the end results that you want. Can you walk us through the second level that you talk about and building the master plan?
All right, so now that you have right intentions and expectations, you need to build a blueprint that will complement your intentions and your expectation.
So in other words, you collapse the intention and the expectation into the blueprint or the master plan.
Exactly.
So in other words, this becomes a guide. This becomes something like your business strategic plan, or it becomes like your personal life master plan. And it keeps you anchored, it keeps you on guide. Am I correct?
Definitely.
Now let's talk about this third level. I believe that the third level and speak to the issue. Talk to me about the third level, about habits.
Okay, so the third one talks about identifying the success habits. And that is when you take steps into accomplishing your goal. And for you to get better at that, you need to read, write, teach, and talk a lot about subject matter, and you'll get better.
Thank you, Jed. So, as you identify success habits, and this looks like general habits that can be applied. If you don't know about something, you read about it. If you want to test how much you're learning, you write about it. I love that. And then you also start to talk about it because your ability to articulate yourself around the subject matter ultimately allows you to assess your strengths and weaknesses, and then you teach about it. And I do believe that you're at a point where you're having some teachable moments. I like that. You have been in training for quite some time. And now you have evolved to that point where you can now start to teach the concept. For the general audience, I just want to point out that Jay Thompson, while he is studying investment banking and business, he has also been a faithful student at Global Capital Inc. and on the studying our wealth building system. And we are very happy that he is at this stage where he can now start to teach those concepts to you. And these concepts is working not only locally, but they're working internationally with the many clients that we are interfacing with. Thanks a lot, Jeff. We'll come back to that just now. Mr. Frank, all to you.
Thank you. One of the things I want to look at after we discuss the objectives is your tactics. One's successful journey to financial independence depends on a lot of their actions. And these are things you need to learn about and do to achieve financial independence as you define it. The first thing is that you start with a budget, which takes into account income and other available assets. It allows you to pay your living expenses, and if at all possible, it lets you save and invest. Now, if you think of your budget as a roadmap to financial independence, you pay attention to where your money goes and you avoid the dead ends. You cut costs where possible and create more opportunities for saving and investment. Take full advantage of any employer provided retirement savings, like if you have access to them, or start building your own through, as in Guyana is an insurance company, or where else can we go for that? Some one of the financial institutions you can research. I'll get back to you on that. On the other hand, it's important to allow for fun unless you're following the FIRE strategy I spoke about earlier. You just don't go overboard. And above all, don't borrow for recreation or any kind of entertainment activities. Along the same vein, you need to expect the unexpected. And you do that by creating an emergency fund to provide liquidity when you need it most for, let's say, an unexpected but necessary expense. So you plan for unexpected events. And these events could derail your plans, making it crucial. It doesn't have to be pandemic, it could be illness. It can be an unexpected job loss or an economic crisis downturn, like there was a great recession in the period 2007 to 2009. And then you also have to develop an investment strategy that takes advantage of the power of compound interest. Compound interest is free money and adds up over time. You need to learn as much as you can about investing, but also you need to take advantage of the knowledge others already have. Now, if investing is a major part of your wealth plan, find and utilize investment advisors as early as the process as possible. Another thing is that you cannot give up if you meet stumbling blocks. to reach financial independence, you need to have that spirit of perseverance. You keep going at it. The notion of the need for eternal vigilance in the pursuit of liberty, which is often attributed to one of the United States President, Thomas Jefferson, can also be applied to financial independence. The road to financial independence requires a lifetime commitment to continuous budgeting and investment. You also need to be watchful about situations that could lead to having money trickle out, that could be put to better use, or that could lead to accumulation of more debt than you can handle. If you feel it coming on, make yourself stop and pay attention and work to find a solution, whether it's debt counseling, debt consolidation, or even that old standby, putting the credit cards in a drawer and not using them. Keep looking for new opportunities and new ways to make the most of your hard-earned capital. You see, perseverance also demands that you learn the steps for building a proper investment portfolio and make sure that you rebalance it regularly to keep it moving toward your financial objectives. Then you adjust as you get closer to retirement.
Thanks a lot, Frank. Awesome. All right, we have 5 more minutes to pull the curtain down. So what I will do, I will come to Jed, and then I'll come back to Frank to give the closing remarks. So Jed, I know that we are talking today from the 10X Wealth Leadership Blueprint, and we're only discussing one of the 5 ecosystems. And the one that we're looking at today that you're discussing is titled the Financial Planner's Game Plan. The Financial Planner's Game Plan represents 9 ecosystems. Can you walk us through those 9 ecosystems?
All right, so those 9 ecosystems are financial goal setting, financial timeline, financial game plan, team dynamics and team management, project implementation, project evaluation control, project control optimization, project systemization, and the WBS, the work breakdown structure.
Excellent. So this seems like an awful lot of work, and when you are attempting to come into financial independence. I guess if persons are scared by the in-depth analysis, the detailed amount of work that has to be done, perhaps this is one of the reasons that I explained why over 90% of those persons are setting the goals, never achieve it. And the 1% that commits the time, talent, and the resources to learning these things achieve much more in life. I want to just point out that Jay Thompson is only 16 years old. He's already studying at university. He's doing investment banking. And I'm so happy and proud of where he's at the moment. Frank, your closing remarks?
If you fight for financial independence, it will be intense and persistent. You may end up as the Continental Army did after the British surrender at Yorktown on October 19, 1782. At that point, historians say the Americans had effectively gained their independence. The fight continued, however, for almost more 2 years until September 3rd, 1783, when the signing independence begins with a declaration, followed by a plan, including objectives, assets, tactics, and most of all, perseverance. A little luck can hurt, and some generosity to your companions on the road. Both people and nations need the company and help of others. So,
All right. I want to thank both of you for taking time out to be with me today. Of course, Frank, I would have pointed out, he is a graduate of the University of the West Indies. He's a lecturer. He lectured at the University of the West Indies. And he also has a tremendous background in leadership. Jed, he's currently studying investment banking, and he has achieved several certificates in that field as he pursues investment banking and business. I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to being with me today, and look forward to doing this again next week, Sunday. Be blessed.
Peace.
okay, have a good night.
All right, my
All
friends.
our
Take
listeners.
care. All right.